It's October 1st, 2025. It's that time again for your daily torment report, where we cover the two men who are tormenting half the world more than anyone else. If you have Trump derangement syndrome or Musk derangement syndrome, you're either in a good place or a bad place. You're going to get cured or you're going to get agitated. Because what we do here is we cover what these two men are doing, and let's jump right into it and start with Donald Trump, who's a troll. So I wanted to start with this, even though it's from yesterday. And we did look at this. I hadn't noticed in the image because JD Vance was talking about this today. They were trolling these gentlemen with a Trump 2028 hat. And that was kind of big news today. So I thought that was pretty funny. He's not going to run in 2028. I mean, he should get the term that they took from him, but he was wildly successful in his first term. And why not give it to JD Vance? Besides, when his term is finally up, we're probably going to be in another biblically prophetic time, if you know what I mean. So Trump 2028, while it's awesome for trolling, I don't know if it's really going to be a thing. All right, moving on. Does he have more of them on his desk? I thought this was AI generated, but apparently they were really trolling. All right, moving on. Let's see what we got here.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
They were so pissed off at these memes. It came up a couple of times in some of the questions that the reporters were asking JD Vance and Donald Trump. Let's see. I was there to see it all. Total scum. Let's see. Exclusive. FBI surveilled Republican or Representative Scott Perry before seizing his cell phone as part of the Arctic frost probe into the 2020 election. Why were apparently undercover FBI surveillance? Rep Perry, while representing his constituents at the U.S. Capitol, asked. Okay, let's go read this thing. This is from the New York Post, so you know it's got to be true or not. Let's see. The FBI really? Yeah, go away. FBI surveilled Scott Perry, Republican from Pennsylvania, at the congressional office and private residence roughly a month before seizing his cell phone and demanding information for a sprawling probe into 2020 election interference. Unclassified records reviewed by the these websites are so annoying. Unclassified records reviewed by the Post show the files, which are part of the probe known as Arctic Frost, that targeted nearly 100 Republican aligned entities in the wake of President Trump's electoral loss, show that Perry was trailed by Bureau agents in July and August 2022. Goal from surveillance is to get a pattern of life, identify his vehicle, and possibly identify location to serve him with a seizure warrant. One of the FBI's documents stated agents watched for Perry and took log notes of July 25th at his home, just south of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and at two workplaces in Washington, D.C. Other documents showed while on August 4th, the congressman was surveilled at a recreation center in the nation's capital. The records were first obtained by House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican for Ohio, as part of his oversight of the Arctic Frost probe, referred to in a newly uncovered FBI files as a sensitive election law investigation. You know, you were wondering what was going on with the election stuff. Well, they're still investigating it apparently. Why were apparently undercover FBI agents surveilling Representative Perry while representing his constituents at the U.S. Capitol? Asked Russell Dye, a spokesman for Jordan, calling it a glaring separation of powers concern. While this something approved by Speaker Pelosi? Was it approved by the Democrat sham January 6th committee? Should other members be concerned that they were being watched for carrying out their constitutional duties? He asks. The Office of Congressional Affairs was notified of the FBI wanting to conduct an interview with Perry per the documents. 5 days after the last surveillance date, the FBI executed its warrant while Perry was on vacation in New Jersey on August 9th during the congressional recess. They had planned to serendipitously record an interview with him the same date, just one day after agents raided President Trump's Mar a Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida. They made no attempt to contact my lawyer, who would have made arrangements for them to have my phone if that was their wish. Perry said in a statement to Fox News at the time, "I'm outraged, though not surprised, that the FBI, under the direction of Merrick Garland, DOJ, would seize the phone of a sitting member of Congress," he added. "My phone contains info about my legislative and political activities and personal private discussions with my wife, family, constituents, and friends. None of this is the government's business." At the time, Perry served as chair of the conservative House Freedom Caucus and had declined to voluntarily meet with members of the January 6th House Select Committee investigating the 2021 Capitol riot. Arctic frost targeted specifically in Pennsylvania efforts to install a slate of 20 electors who would falsely cast their ballots for Trump, huh, and Vice President Mike Pence rather than Democratic candidate Joe Biden. The FBI documents allege the scheme had been solicited by the Trump campaign, and Perry supposedly introduced then Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Clark to Trump in an attempt to elevate the DOJ official to acting Attorney General following the departure of AG Bill Barr. The FBI had also found that Perry texted with members of the Pennsylvania legislature who drafted a December 30, 2020 letter asking for then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, to dispute the certification of the elections. Reps for Perry's office and the FBI didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Yeah, so apparently investigations are still going on in regards to the election interference. Good for them. Let's see. I was there to see it all. Total scum. Yeah, you were a part of it too. They raided your Mar-a-Lago. All right. Trade deficits plummet 42.9% in second quarter under Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Trade deficit plummets. Go figure. Good on him. Let's see. As I determined on September 27th, when I activated and called into service the National Guard in Oregon, conditions continue to deteriorate into lawless mayhem. Our great federal law enforcement officers have not been able to enforce the law in Oregon. Antifa and the radical left anarchists have been viciously attacking our federal law enforcement officers, men and women who are simply doing their job protecting federal property and enforcing federal immigration laws and the rule of law. We will never allow mobs to take over our streets, burn our cities, or destroy America. The National Guard is now in place and has been dedicated to restoring law and order and ending the chaos, death, and destruction. We are a nation of law and we will prevail. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I did want to talk about this. So they've arrested, I don't quote me on the number, but it's roughly 27 Antifa members. And the protests, if that's what you want to call them, outside of the ICE building have dwindled quite a bit. We were watching the live with Honey Badger last night, and there were, I don't know, between 20 and 30 people out there, and things still kind of got heated. Somebody got Katie, one of the journalists, got hit in the face, got a black eye. We saw one police officer kind of trying to help, but didn't really. It seems like they're mainly there to kind of, I don't know, represent a presence. At least that gentleman was. There's some videos of when they were walking around trying to follow the person that hit the journalist in the face with a flagpole. They walked by some police officers and they didn't do anything. We were expecting something to happen because the Green Hats were there, which is the National Lawyers Association, or NLP or NLG. I don't know the exact name of it, but Apparently, there are those who wear green hats that are there to represent the protesters in the event that they are something happens. Let's just put it that way. But the thing is you have the governor and the mayor who are outright lying right now. And if you do any research at all, you'll see that because the governor and the mayor are putting out these narrow, kind of phone based images of the perfect city, Portland. They're saying, oh, people are out shopping. We can go out to dinner and, everything's fine. And it's not this war ravaged city that Trump is. Yeah. But you know what they're doing? They're not showing you any of the places where the homeless encampments are. Notice none of the videos are over by the ICE center because they don't want to keep showing you the broken out windows, and they don't want to run into the residents who live over in that area who have been asking for the last 100 days for the police to do something. At night, it is chaos there. And when you have, ICE agents having to deploy tear gas and pepper spray just to drive their cars in and out of their driveway, that's kind of like a war zone. The destruction there is kind of like a war zone. Even the police chief is trying to lie to you by saying that, Portland is 145 square miles, and you're only talking about one city block. Well, last night the it spans more than a mile, couple of miles, where the person who assaulted the journalists walked all around the city. So you've got these little droves of Antifa that are walking throughout the city beating people. And then that's beside the point with the other problems that they're dealing with. So don't be fooled. That's my point. Don't be fooled by those who are trying to show you the daytime images where Antifa is asleep or passed out because they're drunk. They got drunk the night before and they passed out during the day. Most of the war zone stuff is at night. And I was surprised because yesterday it was raining and they were still out in the rain. I thought for sure the rain would come and it would kind of mellow out, but I think, Trump is taking the wind out of their sails because, last night there was only it was a smaller crowd than normal. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. The governor of Oregon must be living in a dream world. Portland is a never ending disaster. Many people have been badly hurt and even killed. It is run like a third world country. We're only going in because, as American patriots, we have no choice. Law and order must prevail in our cities and everywhere else. My experience is this is relatively true. I used to work in downtown Portland, and this was before COVID. This was before the rise of Antifa. This I literally stopped working in Portland right before those riots started, where they were just destroying everything. It was way more than a city block. They destroyed the building that I was working in. I used to work down there. They had remodeled an old building, which in years past, honestly, the building had been completely destroyed and it was used for a homeless hangout and it was all spray painted. Um, but when Portland was kind of a booming technology center, technical companies had come in, dumped a bunch of money into those buildings and remodeled them, made them beautiful and a great place to work, even preserved some of the graffiti that was in the garages and in the buildings and turned it into part of the art and the feel of the building. It was wonderful. And it was safe and you could eat and you could go for a walk and eat without stepping in, human feces and stepping over, people who are strung out on drugs, which is what it's like today in a lot of the areas, which when they were showing you those images, they weren't showing you those areas. The area where I used to work, now, number one, the building's destroyed. And number two, if did still work down there, I would not be able to go out for lunch like they did. They showed you the downtown town square and they showed you a couple of very select areas where you notice they don't pan because if they did, they're going to show you homeless. Just watch some of these other people that cover Portland full time, and you'll see, just type in Antifa, Portland Antifa, their channels come up top. Go look at Honey Badger's feed on X.com, and you'll see what it's really like, because they're great journalists that are downtown who are really showing you the way things are, and a lot of them have been down there for the last 100 days. So yeah, this is Trump is wholly justified in what he is saying here. The mayor and the governor and the police chief are all lying through their teeth, and that's from my perspective as somebody who's close enough to go visit and see. And we completely avoid the area because it's not safe. When we go down to Oregon, we do not drive through Portland because it is not safe. Even and the interesting thing is I have been to that service center. There's a Tesla service center right behind the ICE building. It is not safe to go to that Tesla service center. Uh, not with these protests, or whatever you want to call them. All right, soybean farmers of our country are being hurt because China is, for negotiating reasons only, not buying. We've made so much money on tariffs that we are going to take a small portion of that money and help our farmers. I will never let our farmers down. Sleepy Joe Biden didn't enforce our agreements with China, where they were going to purchase billions of dollars of our farm product. But soybeans in particular, it's all going to work out very well. I love our patriots, and every farmer exactly that. Patriots. I'll be meeting with President Xi of China in 4 weeks, and soybeans will be a major topic of discussion. Make soybeans and other row crops great again. This has been coming up in my personal conversations. What's going on? What's Trump doing to help our farmers? So it's nice to see that he's working on it. I really believe that Jerome Too Late Powell is an obstructionist. Yeah, agreed. Lower the interest rates, Jerome. All right, what do we got here? Demand mass deportation now. Sign below. Maxine Waters admitted that she is demanding health care for illegal aliens, and it's going to be top of the line, taking Americans' taxpayers' health care away from them. Yeah, so the government shut down right now. We'll talk about it more as we get through his timeline here. Oh, wait, this is the last thing in his timeline. Statement of support for Middle East peace deal. Oh, is this the 20 point? So this peace deal, a lot of Christians are trying to say that this is the peace deal for the 7-year peace agreement. It might be, and some of them are even trying to count from the day that this was introduced. If this was the 7-year peace deal that's talked about in the book of Daniel, I don't think we would start counting until it was actually in effect and there was actually peace, which I'm guessing is in February 17th, 2026, probably. Because that's when the next eclipse is, and that's when the next candidate for seal number 5 opening. And it would be very cool, and not like God has to do what I think is cool, but it would be very cool if peace was made on the day of that eclipse, because it mirrors the seal number 3, and it kind of encapsulates all of seal number 4, to where seal number I'll show you later when we go through the timeline, but it encapsulates quite nicely all of seal number 4. So that would be, like super confirmation that I have the patterns right with the seals opening, if this actually went into effect in February. So we'll see. So what are some of these things? Australia affirms the plan's commitment to denying Hamas any role in the future governance of Gaza, and calls on Hamas to agree to the plan, lay down its arms, and release all remaining hostages, said Prime Minister Albanese in a statement. China welcomes and supports all efforts conducive to easing tensions between Palestine and Israel, said a foreign ministry spokesman. New Zealand, we urge the parties to seize this important opportunity to end the conflict and implement the terms of the proposal fully, said FM Peters. EU Commission welcome President at real Donald Trump's commitment to end the war in Gaza. Encourage. Since when do official documents have your Twitter handle in them or Truth Social handle in them? That's hilarious. Is this official document? Operations centered statements of support for Middle East peace deal. Okay. uh, Turkey President Erdogan, I commend U.S. President Donald Trump's effort and leadership aimed at halting the bloodshed in Gaza and achieving ceasefire. All right, so these are just statements from people supporting the peace deal. Any interesting? So is this a 7-day peace deal with many? I don't know. Well, there you go. That's what we have for Trump. You guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about here before we move on to our guy Elon Musk? I'll give you a few minutes. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll probably let me go see what Honey Badger's doing while you guys think if you have any questions. See if she's broadcasting yet. We'll probably come back on if she goes live after the show. Her or any of the handful of journalists that actually go down there. I don't see anything. She's been posting updates on yesterday. I was following I found another gentleman. He showed up in one of Nick Shirley's videos. He was the one that was talking about the one who was kind of coordinating and leading the Antifa members in Portland, where he was offering his home as a place for them to use the restroom, take a shower. He also said that they do, you know, uh, inappropriate parties there to where they drink and get high right before these protests, which is why my comment was that probably why it's peaceful during the day is because they're all passed out during the day, only to wake up and go cause more chaos again. What a life! Anyway, I was watching this guy Veli Ray. He's got a great channel. Maybe we'll go. Maybe I'll show you who he is. He lives down in Portland, and he's been at every single one of the protests for the last 100 days, uh, interviewing people and investigating. And seems like a pretty down to earth guy. He actually spends a lot of his time feeding the homeless people down there because he lives with them and knows them. So he does a lot of cooking and takes his extra food and goes and give it away. Got to commend him for that. Maybe we'll go check him out. All right, no questions. Let's move on to Elon Musk. So this has been something big that Elon is tackling now, which is because of the woke nature of Wikipedia. He is setting his sights on a a better Wikipedia, one that has none of the woke bullshit in it, called Grokpedia. So XAI is building Grokpedia, an open source knowledge repository where truth is the mission. This will be available to the public with no limits on use. Its knowledge base is purely built on truth and facts. Soon, Grokpedia will be the most trusted source for everything, by every AI and every human for facts and truthful information. Grokpedia is a crucial step for XAI's mission to understanding the universe. The mission is and always has been the truth in its purest form. Grokpedia is coming. Sweet. Or need. Yeah. So get racist is a far right. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Now, exactly. Those attacks are so used to make them meaningless. Yeah. And yeah, where the it's you don't you guys need to learn what to words and articulate. All right. The ADL as the hate group is that the is that the FBI allowed ADL to ADL is deeply embedded within law enforcement. They must be removed immediately. The ADL is a hate group. Apparently, yeah, if they're labeling people as hate groups, are they part of the source of the whole hate group movement? From Charlie Kirk's account on X, we should use this government shutdown as a chance to shrink government permanently. Ha ha! Yes, indeed. And I think that Donald Trump is not behaving in the way that they might have wanted him to behave, because if you guys don't know, the government is shut down right now, which means public parks, and TSA and certain military branches are working without getting paid because they can't agree on a budget. And the reason is the Democrats are insisting that we pay for health care for illegal aliens, and the Republicans and Donald Trump are like, no, not going to happen. And as a result of this shutdown, like 100,000 people are resigning, and Trump is like, great, good riddance, you're fired. Privatize the TSA, privatize the FAA, air traffic controllers, abolish the IRS. Yes. Remove non essential workers. If workers aren't essential, they shouldn't be working in government in the first place. Good point. Oh, this was Charlie Kirk on. So when did he post that? Oh, this was on January 17th, 2019. This was legitimately a post from Charlie Kirk. We should use so this was when they shut down in 2019. Huh. Cool. The judges who let this person go should be held accountable and in jail. Who is this? Oh, yeah. Father of a 22-year-old woman who was brutally killed by a career criminal slams soft on crime policies. The criminal was arrested 39 times, 29 felonies, and is still on the street.
How many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them, and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life.
Wow. I don't know if this is appropriate for YouTube. So this is the post on from Phil Mickelson, the judge who let this person go. So we're seeing this as it's been an epidemic where criminals are not being held and getting the treatment that they need, whether it be jail or a mental institution, and they're being allowed to go free, and they are killing people. And this is a father who's not going to stop until they stop doing that. Sounds like he's going to get very descriptive. And I'd love to actually play this, but YouTube will strike the channel if we play stuff that's not allowed. What's that about my audio? Is my audio messed up? I am trying something new so that I can play audio, sound bites and stuff like that. And it might be affecting my audio. Let me know if it's having an effect. Could also be my Wi-Fi. My internet company has been not reliable lately. We may have to get a secondary connection just so we have a more reliable connection. Tanya Marie, Jesus and Elijah returned as women and marry soon. Jesus is female in gender. Elijah is male in gender. Gender is located in the soul. No, not true. Trumpers all took the mark of the beast and must repent before it's too late. Not true. Ministers all know Malachi 3:8-12 is telling them to return the money. Yeah, I don't agree with those statements, Tanya. Let's see. Elon Musk, 100% regarding the judge who let that murderer go. So this is a big thing. Protect your kids, cancel Netflix, transgender woke agenda, your kids. So yeah, Trojan horse, referring to the cartoon that's pushing transgender ideology. Elon Musk has pushed this message out to his 230 some odd million subscribers, and Netflix is taking note. I imagine that they will probably stop pushing this woke ideology because these people are not the majority there with a minority. We don't want our kids indoctrinated with these lies that boys can be girls, can be boys, the gender born with. And this was, sorry, man of sin, really don't know scripture. Trump, he doesn't declare himself God. He doesn't the temple of God. He is Trump is the so-called, you don't know Christ. The law like he is using him to see they stand. Will he's not antichrist. He's not the lawless one. Law. A kind of movie. King people stand up for Trump, and God out to Trump and eyes. Well, Tanya, I believe that Trump is one of the two witnesses of this show, the Torment Report. So you might be tormented by the things that we're covering because what you're saying ain't true, my friend. Jesus was a man that was, why do you write in all caps? I mean, like, do you feel like you have to scream at the top of your lungs? Jesus was a man that was female in gender, and she returned as a black cis lesbian. I think you're just here to agitate. Are you just trying to stir up stuff in the chat? Slow down. If you've got genuine comments, you're more than welcome to. Oh, am I broken up again here? Hang on. Let me just. There you go. Let me switch straight to the microphone. Only Elijah restores truth to Scripture. Yeah. Don't. Yeah, you need to slow down, Tanya. I think you're just spamming and stirring up trouble. Trumpers all took the mark of the beast and only have so much longer to repent. What is the mark of the beast? So, what do you think what do you think the mark of the beast is, Tanya? Yeah, it's got to be that virtual. So, light gong. It's got to be that virtual driver. Apparently, we can't have nice things and sound embedded into the audio. Jesus was a man. Okay, you're just repeating a bunch of nonsense. Moving on. Let's watch this.
With physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
There's a
so
weird
whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the joint force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service.
Good.
Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our joint force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that.
PT is physical training, if you don't know, and I think that is a wonderful idea. If you're going to fight and defend the country, even if it's from the desk, you should be in shape. You know, you can be called to fight at any time. We should all be in shape. Every one of us should do PT every day. But I love that they're doing tests. Good. What do we got here?
Senator, one of your colleagues, Senator Hawley, had an exchange with a man, Gregory Jackson Jr., who has in the past talked about defunding the police. At one point, he was the executive director of community justice for a group that was funded by George Soros's Tides Foundation. Let's watch this back and forth with your colleague earlier.
I in no way stand with defunding law enforcement.
This is your report, a policymaker's playbook to reduce gun violence without policing communities. After your policies have transparently failed and led to the deaths of millions of Americans, now you say you've never heard of defunding the police. Your own report recommends it on page after page after page.
I feel like I'm looking at a two-faced individual because you talk about reducing
Oh, no, sir.
violence.
You're looking at somebody who's
You're also
reading you
speaking
your
out
own
against-
words. You want to invest in gobbledygook and take away money from police officers who actually keep our communities safe. And when you're called on the record, you deny it.
Senator, your reaction to that?
Well, I know Mr. Jackson. He worked for President Biden. He believes that cops are the problem. He believes that cops are a bigger problem than criminals. He believes that if a cop has to shoot a criminal, it's automatically the cop's fault. If a criminal shoots a cop, though, it's the gun's fault. He's part of the loon wing of the Democratic Party, and they just don't believe in free will and responsibility. And as long as they're in charge, particularly in our large urban areas, we're going to continue to have crime. Look, it's not complicated. A guy in prison cannot shoot your sister. It's just very simple.
Yeah.
And I'm all for rehabilitating when we can, but some people are just bad. You have to separate them from society.
Yep. The loon wing of the Democratic Party thinks that if a cop has to shoot a criminal, it's automatically the cop's fault. But if a criminal shoots a cop, they think it's the gun's fault. Yeah, it's absolute lunacy. That's not even common sense. That's retarded. And this whole idea of defunding the police, I understand that there are probably some corrupt police out there, but not all police. I know a lot of police. We have good relationships with the police, the sheriffs, the state troopers in our area. Even the ones that I don't like, I still appreciate what they do because they put their lives on the line. It's retarded to defund the police. You need somebody to enforce law and order. Otherwise, you end up with cities that are full of human feces. Nobody wants to visit them, and violence and lawlessness runs rampant. Grok Code Fasts and Grok 4 Fast are still holding the number 1 and 2 position. Let's see. The Democrat Party wants open borders, transgender for everybody, men competing in women's sport, crime and lawlessness in our streets, cashless bail policies over the safety and security of our nation. It's never America first. That's from the White House. Oh, what's this? No audio?
Of female troops. Our female officers, this, and I want to be very clear about
Those
this.
are the same thing. Better audio.
This is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is.
Yeah.
If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result. So be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know, this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test, and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong.
Yeah, that reminds me. I used to read these books about the Navy SEALs, and they're written by a gentleman, Richard Marshenko. I think he's the one who started the Navy SEAL program, or he was a Navy SEAL. He was a kind of a drug addict, nobody, and found his purpose in life in the Navy SEALs. And the stuff that they go through, the stuff they have to be able to do, it is like, I mean, you need to be able to pull yourself up on a rope while a boat is speeding through the water. And if you don't have the strength to actually do that, you're not going to be able to do your job. So absolutely. It just comes down to, do you want a strong fighting force? Or do you want to people stupid? Women can do all the same that men can be strong out there, but if they want to be able to do certain jobs, I would have saying that. Hard so now I know what this means. So this is on so you got it's tiny and soft, and then so Elon is with large. See this word? It's targeted.
A magistrate had him sign a piece of paper stating that he would a hearing when it happened. And this was less than a month before he went on that train. And when Irina Zarutska stepped into that train and sat down, obviously from the video, not really even noticing the person sitting behind her as his head was propped up against the window. And that individual became a killer.
Good reason for situational awareness.
Stabbed her in the neck. The
Stay out of your
was
phone
a serious
in
breakdown
unsafe
in the
places.
process, and I'm very grateful that the General Assembly in North Carolina has already stepped forward, have already passed Arena's law, and it now sits on the desk of Governor Josh Stein. And he has dodged the question when asked, are you going to sign this into law? Because as we heard in the hearing today, there are a number of things. That was a question that I'd asked. What are the things that take place with Irina?
You know what I think it is with the Democrats is they want to destroy America. I mean, like, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And everything that the Democrats, from my observation, is doing is anti-American. They want to destroy America. Either that or they're just too stupid to be in positions of authority in order to protect the American lifestyle, in order to protect the American people, because it seems like they want crime, they want killing, they don't want borders. Like if you imagine the same policies, if they were to apply their policies to your home, to where they did not want to enforce borders to keep this a country of people who have worked, who are rightfully here from people who are refuse to go through the process to be here legally, it would be a little like somebody just coming into your home, living in a room, and you can't do anything about it, right? If you speak up, they kick you out of your home because the invaders, the criminals, the burglars have more rights than you do, which is anti-American, anti-common sense, and lawless. It's literally the definition of lawless because they're refusing to enforce the laws, hence lawless. So if anybody's if the lawlessness, it's on the Democratic side, and we see this showing up more and more. And this has really been in a lot of Elon's posts where he's highlighting these criminals that should be in jail, should be in mental institutions. They're killing people. That's what this is. This is a repost. Same thing about the father whose daughter was murdered. This is ridiculous. Enforce the law. Democratic governors who are not enforcing the law need to be removed from office because they are trying to destroy America, which might very well be what ends up happening during this administration. I mean, like, we're considering Donald Trump and Elon Musk as the two witnesses from the book of Revelation. You know what happens to them after 3.5 years. The beast from the bottomless pit rises up and takes their lives and leaves them dead in the street for 3.5 days. So those on the left seem to be as though that is what they're pushing towards. So it may be part of that transition to the next administration, the next beast system. Beast systems in the Bible are often governments. And I understand why, because they are so, governments are unruly beasts. They're like wild animals. Anyway, what is this? Breaking after Elon Musk told his after Elon Musk told his 226 million followers he's canceling Netflix, the trend has gone viral of people posting their cancellations. It's time to cancel and boycott Netflix. Yeah, you don't need Netflix. Netflix is a joke. I mean, there's not even really anything good on Netflix. What, maybe Space Force with Steve Carell might be the only thing that's good on there. I love Steve. All right, moving on. Let's see. New Model Y performance now available in the US. Cool. Grokpedia. Wikipedia should have just taken that 1 billion offer from Elon. It's too late. The rival is coming. Grokpedia. I didn't realize he offered to buy it. Huh. Good for him. Rogan.
Think they're.
We're getting numb as a society of seeing people die.
Well, the Charlie Kirk thing fucking opened up my eyes.
Yeah.
I never expected so many people would celebrate that man's murder.
That is evil. That's
bizarre. It's just bizarre. Like normal people that I think they're good people, and they genuinely think that guy was a bad guy. And I don't think they're right, and I think they were indoctrinated. And I don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said or did.
I don't care if he was a bad guy or not.
He's not a bad guy.
I don't want to see him. I don't want to see anybody die.
First of all, he's fucking your age, right?
Yeah.
He's a young guy, right? And he would go around to college campuses and have arguments with people, or have discussions with people, have debates with people.
Yep.
But it infuriated people because they felt like this guy is going against the progress that was being made in society. But what he did not feel like was progress. Like it was a progressive agenda that was being pushed in most college campuses. It's a leftist, Marxist sort of agenda. He didn't feel like that was the correct way to live, and he felt like he had arguments against it, and he wanted, and it was, it's a business too, right? Like he developed this big social media platform because of it, and I don't, like I said, I don't agree. I don't think some of the things he said he should have said, but the fact that people were cheering when he died, normal people, housewives, moms, like fucking people working at banks, people working at various industries, celebrating a man getting shot in front of his kids.
Absolutely demonic.
In front of the whole world.
That's
like,
evil.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
It's just really weird now.
It's really weird, and it's celebrated to hate people. And that's the weird part. And most of us know that that's wrong. And
and that was a sign of things to come. So it is said about the two witnesses that when the beast from the bottomless pit rises up and kills them, that the world sends presents to one another. I believe they actually did that during the death of Charlie Kirk. The Hamas was handing out candy in the streets, which is one of the things that said that they do for the two witnesses.
that's why, like, when this Charlie Kirk thing happens, there's a giant blowback, and most people recognize, like, hey, as a collectively, as a society, this is not right. Regardless of whoever that person is, whether that person's on the left or the right, they just got shot in front of the whole world. It's not a thing to celebrate ever. And especially when you're seeing people on the left that are supposed to be progressives. These are supposed to be the kind, compassionate, inclusive people that are celebrating gun violence, public execution.
Hang on a minute. I don't know. Can you guys hear that? I have audio coming in from somewhere. Weird. Yeah, I don't know if you guys could hear that. Some video was playing in the background. Oh, was that was on this video? That was on here? Weird. All right, where were we? Solve that with where except nope. Eight hours ago. Here we go. We were watching this. Weird.
Shot in front of his kid. In the front of the whole world. Like,
it's evil.
what the fuck?
Something is playing. Huh. Weird. Sorry. Trying to figure out my audio. All right. Here we go again. Find this again. There you go.
Well, the Charlie Kirk thing fucking opened up.
What's the deal? We just close these then, I guess. Okay. I don't know what's happening. Whenever I unmute this tab, all I hear is Honey Badger Mom. Let me just stop the share here and restart this. When in doubt, turn it off and on again. Ooh, what was that? Elon Musk becomes the first person in history with a net worth of $500 billion. Good for him. He's only gonna make more with what he's doing. The dude is on a roll. All right. All right. Sorry about that. There we go. We fixed whatever it was. Third time's a charm, going through his feed. There we go. All right, you got the point here. They're talking about Charlie and people celebrating. One of the biggest lies ever told is that leftist communists are the compassionate ones. These are the most evil people to ever live. They are not compassionate. They have no morality. They are deeply dysgenic, broken freaks filled with envious hate and resentment. Yeah, I think it's part of the I feel like it's part of the falling away where people are being separated, which I struggle with because I want to love everybody. But like God sad says, suicidal empathy can get you killed. So there's got to be, and with Jesus, here's the thing too, is Jesus comes back ready to kill. He's the 144,000 or the first fruits. There's going to be a battle in the days ahead. I'm assuming that it's probably like 5 or 6 years ahead, but maybe that's part of the whole falling away, the separation. Maybe the point is to maybe these events are what's pushing people into, it's gathering together the worthless ones to be burned, and it's gathering together the fruitful ones to be safely kept in the barn during the harvest. I don't know. All right, what does this say?
That the previous administration was involved in bringing people in. People here were allowed to sponsor.
Huh. Okay, she must be broadcasting live, and it's got to be coming from. Oh, I found it. Here it is. There we go. I found the offending stream. Here we go.
Individuals.
You mentioned that some of this should have been caught earlier in previous administrations. What wasn't being done, in your view, that should have been done in previous years?
Well, you're aware of the CHNV, the parole programs that the previous administration was involved in, bringing people in. People here were allowed to sponsor individuals to come in from certain countries. As I said, we found organizations here that were involved in sponsoring many individuals. They did not know necessarily the individuals they were sponsoring. They were doing almost a blanket sponsorship.
Sounds like an invasion to me.
That's something that should have been caught. It's something that I know the previous administration was aware of how the sponsorships were happening, and no action was taken. I'm glad to see that we're taking action.
Yeah, I mean, in an outrageous development, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Director exposes the migrant parole program was littered with fraud, with rich non-government organizations sponsoring thousands of illegals without even knowing who they were. This is betrayal. Yeah, that is a funded invasion. They should find out who those NGOs are, and they should go after them. Meet Judge Bentley Price. He released Alexander Dickey after just 410 days of a 1,825-day sentence. 22.5%. Dickey was in prison for third-degree burglary, downgraded from first degree. It was his 39th arrest and 25th felony. He left prison and murdered Logan Federico. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Shameful action by Judge Price. Remove him from the bench. Yeah. Alrighty, what is this?
Shot of a man police are investigating for sex crimes involving a child. This is Roberto Dela Cruz.
Yeah, we already read this yesterday. Same thing. People should be in jail, should be in prison. What is this? Step in the right direction, but I won't forgive or forget what the ADL did to Charlie Kirk and TPUSA. The FBI was taking their hate group definitions from ADL, which is why FBI was investigating Charlie Kirk and Turning Point instead of his murderers. Interesting. When memes were made of JD Vance, he posted it himself and leaned into it. He thought it was hilarious. When a meme is made of Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero, he cried and whined about racism and disrespect. You guys know what that's talking about, right? Those are the Trump memes. Yeah, that just shows you the mentality of the right and the left. You know, the right is more mature and can handle. We're not sensitive crybabies. Those on the left are sensitive crybabies who can't handle being made fun of. Kyoko has been with Tesla for 12 years. She has her hard-earned Tesla stock and the tremendous value it's generated over the years to purchase a new home for her family. At Tesla, we believe in sharing our success and empowering our people through our employee equity. Good for him. So this is the Netflix show Coco Camelon. Features interracial gay dads attempting to raise a baby as transgender who make the toddler dance for them in drag. This is the woke version of Bakabazi. Oh, interesting. Demonic. Agreed. This is why we're living in the days of Noah, which is one of the signs of the end time. It's this kind of thing which is pushing the demonic realm into people's minds that's causing this kind of stuff to surface. Why Elon Musk and XAI are building Grokkopedia. Super important for civilization. Yep. Let's see. Abolishing whiteness has never been more urgent. What? It's not okay to say this about any group. Agreed. Let's see. Listen to his file. Yeah, we can't listen to this. It's too graphic. This is not social justice reform. When someone like this walks the streets, this is chaos. With rare exception, ideas rarely are trivial compared to execution. For example, the idea of going to the moon is simple, but actually going to the moon is staggeringly difficult. Yeah. And that is really common for stupid people who think things are as simple as, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do that? Well, when you think through the logistics of actually doing something, it takes effort. I see this so often where people will criticize the person who's doing the hard work to get something done, like criticizing billionaires and millionaires, criticizing them for having money when they don't realize that they probably sleep 3 hours a night. Yeah, turn your hours into dollars. That's the key to success. That's the key to making money. You're not making enough money, do more stuff that pays money. And if your hours aren't making enough money per hour, find something else that does. You can walk yourself right up a ladder. That's one of the great things about America. Let's see. Says they're committed to interrupting the role and presence of whiteness. What? How do white kids in the district feel about this? Middle school principals' commitment. Our collective commitment as middle school leaders is to examine and deepen our understanding of race and the impact that it has on our students and within our school communities. We commit to interrupt the role and presence of whiteness as we identify and disrupt biases. But whiteness is a bias and the marginalization of students. That is retarded. This is why my kids are homeschooled. Cancel Netflix. Netflix appears to openly boasts about discriminating against white people. Wow. In their inclusion and diversity report, they celebrate that the percentage of racially underrepresented directors and lead characters has been growing significantly over the past years. Again, more reason to cancel Netflix. Why doesn't Netflix hire bias based on qualifications instead of skin color? Yeah. Cancel Netflix. In 2 weeks, the state is putting me on trial again. this time using terrorism legislation. And again, I will not be judged by a jury of my peers. I'll be judged solely by a state-appointed judge by appointment judge. So as always, I expect to go to prison on these trumped-up charges. If you can make it to my trial, which will take place at Westminster Magistrates Monday 13th of October and Tuesday the 14th of October, I will wholly appreciate it. If they can do this to me, they can do it to you. While not without its flaws, there is wisdom in the jury system. Well, yeah. Yeah, without the jury system, if you just have single judges, then all it takes is one radical judge to cause chaos. Let's see. Breaking. Director Kash Patel confirms the FBI has fully cut ties with the ADL after they labeled Turning Point and Christian Identity as a hate group, terrorism groups. James Comey brought in the ADL and used their labels as an excuse to spy on and harass conservative groups like TPUSA. James Comey wrote love letters to the ADL and embedded FBI agents with them, a group that run disgraceful ops spying on Americans, Patel said. That era is over. This FBI won't partner with political fronts masquerading as watchdogs. Man, who knew that was going on? Wow, Heritage Foundation exposes Hillary Clinton was directly behind getting the European Union to use their Digital Services Act to pressure Elon Musk and America back into censorship. Hillary Clinton flew across seas for a meeting to facilitate this against America. They, the European Union, gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been a part of. Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. When Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA, Digital Services Act, to force the censorship of American citizens. Force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate.
The most anti-free speech is in a free fall in Europe. There are two anti-free speech movements that have coalesced. One is in Europe, where it has laid waste to free speech. Germany, France, England. Free speech has been eviscerated. And also places like Canada. The U.S. anti-free speech movement began in higher education, then metastasized throughout the government. But this has all reached our shores now. The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, you know, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, she, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force the censorship of American citizens, force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate in the United States. But they are committed to it. And after the World Forum, they further globalized this effort, and they are threatening companies like X with ruinous fines unless they resume censoring American citizens.
That beast from the bottomless pit is trying to come up. Wow. Starlink Direct to Cell delivered its first text messages in early 2024, and a few months later demonstrated video calling. Today, we're so proud to support continuous data video, voice, and messaging across 5 continents. Thank you to all of our partners. Cool. I don't know what he does periodically. 19-year-old, this is another girl who was murdered because a criminal was not in jail. Yeah. Yep. There's a pattern. Cool. Starlink will be improving as we launch more satellites. Please reply if you see this within 5 minutes of posting, but not later than that. This is a test to determine how long it takes for users to receive notifications of X posts on their actual devices. Cool. Yeah. So, one of the reasons he's probably doing this test is when you have large systems at scale, it might seem like they're super simple, but the complexity of orchestrating even just something as simple as of a notification is a monumental problem. Because you imagine if you have hundreds of millions of people active on a platform and you have to implement a system which will find and prioritize the messages that need to go out to notify you on your phone, it's a pretty big deal. The systems can be really fragile too. It's one of the reasons why most people don't know this, but they don't, like companies like Apple and Google don't actually guarantee push notifications, it's sad because there's a lot of companies who base emergency services on push notifications. Um, you shouldn't do that. You should always have multiple methods for contacting people if it needs to be an emergency contact, because these problems are actually whoops. Excellent. These so-called anti-hate groups have smeared, censored, and attacked patriotic Americans for decades. They've ruined the lives of countless innocent people. They played a major role in weaponizing our law enforcement agencies. This is long overdue. Patel cuts ties Comey's FBI made with the ADL as organization faces black backlash for TPUSA criticism. Yeah, good on him. Gavin Newsom tried free healthcare for illegal immigrants. Here's how it turned out. In 2022, Newsom announced California will be offering free healthcare for undocumented immigrants. He claims it's the moral thing to do, and it will cost $2.2 billion a year. 2025, with California facing a $12 billion deficit, Newsom freezes the program for new entries and says that those currently enrolled will have to pay a monthly premium. The cost of the program had ballooned to over $11 billion a year. Yikes.
California to avail themselves to high quality, comprehensive medical care, long-term, short-term, preventative, as well as in-home support service care and coverage.
Now, Newsom says California is facing a $12 billion deficit. Governor is proposing freezing enrollment in state-funded health care for undocumented immigrants.
You know, when the program started, it was supposed to cost about $3 billion a year, and that ballooned to $11 billion last year. So the governor is freezing new entries into it and making those.
They should do IQ tests for people who are in office and weed out the ones that do stupid things. Like, give them a scenario. Like, what would you do in the event that somebody broke into your, I don't know, come up with some kind of a scenario and test them to see what they did do to determine if they should be governor or in charge. So many of them are lying. I mean, obviously, it's my opinion that obviously it's just part of the end time situation. This is what ultimately leads to the rise of the second beasts is the destruction of this one. Yeah. That's my opinion is the Democratic Party, their purpose is to destroy America. That's what they seem to be doing. And Donald Trump is stopping them from doing that, which tells me that they're probably going to make an effort to put a stop to him. Tesla Diner sold as many burgers in Q3 as the average McDonald's does in the U.S. What? Despite the diner having only opened on July 21st and that Tesla's burgers cost 2 times as much. Higher quality ingredients, of course. Tesla sold an average of 700 burgers per day. Wow. $13.50 ain't that bad, given today's prices for things. I mean, shoot, I think the only place that has like cheap burgers is In-N-Out. And if you want to eat there, you got to wait in line for 2 hours. Like $5.50 or something like that for an In-N-Out burger. But like Five Guys, $9. Habit Burger, $10. I mean, $13.50 ain't too bad. September, 1 out of 3 cars sold in Norway was a Tesla. Good. Yep, Grokpedia is essential. Wow, 100% of Netflix employee donations are to the Democratic Party. Donations by Netflix employee is 100%. So it's a company is entirely run by Democrats. Okay. Cancel Netflix. Oh, the Babysitters Club pushes transgenderism on kids, shames characters for misgendering, and demands. This is another reason why people are just so crazy today. It's like, people are watching this, they're mirroring this behavior. Ugh, cancel Netflix. The ADL has bullied and coerced huge numbers of institutions to take orders from it about whose views should be deemed extremist and thus prohibited. PayPal partners with ADL to fight extremism and protect marginalized communities. Yeah, pay attention. PayPal, knock it off. Grok, what is this? The new Hitler is Keir Starmer. If you rape a child and you're Muslim, nothing happens. If you're English and post online against illegals and rapists, you get sent to prison for years. The rape of England is happening due to the police following orders. Yeah. In just 48 hours, our Memphis Safe Task Force has made 53 arrests and seized 20 illegal firearms. Yesterday, a missing juvenile was located and 3 firearms were recovered at the home of a murder suspect. Good Lord. After 12 years of being transgender and spending my youth permanently damaging my body with breast binding, I realized that I was born in the right body after all. Repost if you think that no one is born in the wrong body. Amen. God put you in the body that you're born in. Don't stop trying to change it. It's demonic. And he has pinned this post with the father. So maybe you guys should go listen to this. I can't play it on YouTube. It's too graphic. He gets into describing what happens. But there you go. So that is Elon Musk. What do you guys have for me in the chats? Let's see. I see nothing wrong with censoring people that are posting outright lies. Yeah, but you don't see a problem with that. It's called freedom of speech. The way you combat lies is with the truth. Good example is, governor and the mayor in Portland, Oregon are posting outright lies. If we didn't have the right to actually post the truth, nobody would know. Their lies would spread and people would think that everything's fine when things are actually not fine. We canceled Netflix when Obama signed on. That told us the direction was going. We didn't want to be supporting that. Us too. We canceled it in like 2019, maybe even sooner. Might have been 2018. It's like when you send an email with Gmail, sometimes it takes so long that it should have gone to China before getting to the recipient. Like, yeah. Newsom only gave it for children and for seniors over 65. And it still cost $12 billion. Good Lord. And it was for ER visits. Damn. Not a big fan of Newsom, but I'm enjoying how he is roasting Trump, especially after Trump posted the AI video. What president does stuff like that? Yeah, that's what makes him different. And that's one of the reasons why I think he's one of the 2 witnesses in the book of Revelation, because he's tormenting the world. He is doing things that nobody has ever done before. I mean, like behavior, I would not normally approve of myself. I'm all for the moderate approach. Be nice, be kind, say things that, you wouldn't mind saying to your mother. But he's definitely pushing the boundary on things. And to me, I think that's probably one of the things that causes the tormenting of the whole world. And to what end? I don't know. But it tells me where we are in the timeline of events, that Jesus Christ is getting back to come soon. And right now, if you want to be doing the right thing, you should be loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. Because when he comes back, you want to be found doing. You don't want to be found beating the saints. I'm referring, of course, to Matthew 24 and 25 that talks about the bad servant who got tired of waiting and decided to start eating and drinking with the drunkards and started beating the saints. You don't want to be found doing that when he comes back. What if the lies cause harm? So would you have the only lie? How do you know the difference between truth and a lie? That's why you have to allow free speech to combat the lies. It's how else? I mean, if you try to censor what you think is a lie, we saw what happened during COVID. They thought that medical misinformation was a lie, so they censored it, and a lot of people got hurt from that. Even now, the information is coming back about the damage that those things were done. So you can't allow anybody to censor free speech. Obviously, I think there are things that we can agree on to censor, horrific visualization. Elon takes more of an extreme approach to free speech than I would even take, but I understand why he does it, because if you have to be extremely careful what you limit, because you might think something is a lie just because it doesn't agree with your bias, and you have to take that out of the algorithm. You have to allow, as long as it's speech. And this is the trick, is they like to call it racism, Nazism. They like to label it something extreme to make it think like you have to ban it and censor it, when what it is it just disagrees with your opinion. And in a lot of cases, it's not even your opinion. You're just repeating what people have told you to repeat, what these TV shows are telling you, like Netflix, which is pushing this transgender bullshit, that's saying that you were born in the wrong body. No, you were born in the right body. You were made in the image of God. He made you the way that you should be. You need to figure out what it is that's stopping you from wanting to be like that and fix that. That's how you're going to get the most satisfaction in life. That's how you're going to get the most fulfillment in life. If you start trying to change who you are at a DNA level, you're not going to be happy. You're going to end up like these unhappy transgenders who just want to kill everybody. Anyway, that is your daily torment report with our guys Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I hope you guys weren't too tormented by going through their activity stream on what it is that they're saying and that they're doing. I don't know about you, but I agree with everything they're doing, because it seems like they're doing the will of God. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. God bless you and shalom. I'll come back on later if anything is happening in downtown Portland. We're keeping our eyes on what's going on down there. I'm not really expecting a whole lot to go on down there right now. They've already arrested 27 people. It seems to have taken the wind out of their sails. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, have